Odin, the All-Father, selects brave warriors to become his Einherjar in Valhalla. Among these heroes is Starkhand. He loses his father at a young age and is raised by a king. However, Odin has different plans for him. Disguised as Hroshar's Granis, Odin kidnaps him during a military campaign. For 9 years, Odin raises Starkhand on a hidden island. When he is nearly grown, Odin takes him to a forest clearing, where other Asgardians recognize him as their ruler. But Starkhand's life is not simple. While Odin grants him many gifts, Thor, another Asgardian, throws obstacles in his path. Thor denies him the chance for a family and property, and so Starkhand wanders from king to king, always in search of the next battle. For war is his craft, his sword, his closest friend. And although he is equipped with the finest weapons, fate does not leave him alone. Starkhand spares himself nothing. He exposes himself even to the harshest conditions of nature, forsakes culinary delights, and hones his body for war. He eats meat without spices and scorns the methods of the neighboring Saxons, who even cook their meat twice. While Odin proclaims him the winner in every battle, Thor ensures that Starkhand is not left unscathed. Each fight leaves new scars and wounds that mark his body like a battlefield. One day, his injuries became so severe that his intestines protruded. But Starkhand refused any help from subordinates. Eventually, a farmer tended to the wound with an improvised sling made of willow twigs. Odin ensured the injuries healed, as Starkhand still had many warriors to defeat for Valhalla. Over time, Starkhand killed many notable men, earning him glory among kings and nobles, but making him hated among common folk. This was Thor's doing. Without a home of his own, Odin gave him the talent for poetry. But even here, Thor worked against him by inflicting him with forgetfulness. Nevertheless, Starkhand performed a remarkable deed that occurred in his 3 lifetimes, and that story shall now be told. Odin had already intervened in the birth of King Vika. The king had 2 wives, Sini and Gerhild, who constantly argued. To finally find peace, the king decided to keep only the wife who brewed the best beer. Signy turned to Freya, while Gerhild sought Odin's help. As a reward, Odin demanded the unborn child, who later came into the world as Vika. Years later, when Odin determined Vika's fate, he chose Starkhand as his aide. Starkhand proved his skills in combat and was soon accepted into Vika's retinue. He hid his dark intentions behind loyalty and zeal. One day, when Vika's fleet was stuck at sea and supplies were running out, they cast lots to see whom Odin demanded. The lot fell on the king himself, but his men did not want to sacrifice him. Starkhand suggested a feigned sacrifice of the king. He poured mead, and the fleet anchored at a nearby island. There, under a gloomy tree, Starkhand prepared a wooden stick. He pulled down a slender branch with his finger and tied a thin calf intestine to it. It was a deceptive setup, a trap set to pave the way for Vika's ultimate fate. The entire crew gathered in a circle around the gloomy little tree, drank mead, and were in high spirits. King Vika, too, laughed as he saw the makeshift gallows. He stepped onto the root stump and put the narrow intestine loop around his neck. The atmosphere was lively, almost festive. Odin had already determined the course of this moment. The night before, Odin, under the alias Hroshar's Granis, had handed Starkhand an unassuming reed stick. Starkhand now showed the stick to the king, who took it in his hand and laughed. Then Starkhand spoke. "Now I give you to Odin." At that moment, the harmless reed stick transformed into a sharp spear. The thin calf intestine tightened and became a sturdy rope. The root stump beneath Vika's feet gave way, and the tree branch snapped upwards, lifting the king into the air. The feigned sacrifice had turned into deadly reality, exactly as Odin and Starkhand had intended.